All right, everybody, welcome to Math for Today. Your job in today's lesson is to continue to work on the project that we started yesterday, where you guys made the paper gliders. So now we're gonna make something called a runway. A runway is where a plane comes in and lands. And the reason that we're gonna make this runway is so that we're able to measure how far you can throw your glider. So what you'll need to do is figure out the way to measure. Now there's two ways that I think that this will work at home. In school we would use cubes, and we would make lines of cubes that are 200 cubes long. You don't have 200 cubes, and neither do I. So what I'm gonna use is something called a tape measure. I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. I'm gonna use a tape measure for my runway to be able to measure. But you can also use just any objects that you can find in your house. If you don't have a tape measure or a ruler that'll get you to a measurement of 200, you can also use like beans or something in your house and just put them in like groups of 10. I'll show you an example of that in just a little bit. You wanna have like alternating colors so you'll be able to count by tens to make it easier for you. All right, so let me show you what I'm gonna do. Let's practice counting by 10 to 200 as a warm up first. All right, so this thing here is called a tape measure. Basically there's a part of it that comes out that looks like that. It has numbers going along in inches on one side and centimeters on the other side. So to help us count, I'm gonna use the centimeter side because centimeters go in tens. So you're just gonna count with me now, and we're gonna count by tens and go to 200. Okay, get ready, count with me. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200. So you can notice that pattern that we follow, right? When we start counting by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So those numbers still repeat themselves after you get to 100. So once you get to 100, after 100, 110, 120, 130. It's the same pattern as you're counting by tens all the way up until after 190, we get to 200. So I want you to practice counting by tens to 200 by yourself. I'm not gonna count this time, but remember you're looking at the numbers in red. I will show you the numbers in red and you will count them on your own. Ready, go. Nice work. Okay, so now we can use the tape measure that I created as a runway. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it out into a hallway that I have in my apartment, and I'm gonna lay it on the ground. Let me show you. Okay, so here is my tape measure, and I put it on the ground. This is my runway. So now what's gonna happen is I'm gonna take my paper glider and I'm gonna throw it, and I'll be able to measure how far my paper glider goes. So this is my runway. That's all you really need to do today is figure out how you're gonna make your runway. This is how I made it with a tape measure. Now remember I said you could do it with objects in your home too. Now let's take a look at what that would look like. Okay, so the objects that I chose to use are these little pretzel nuggets and these pieces of chocolate. Now remember, you're using something different to mark tens to make it easier to count by tens. Okay, so here we go. So what I'll do is in the same place where I'm making my runway, I can just start putting them down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I use something different to mark the 10. 10, and then I can keep going. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, something different. I'm marking a 10, 20. So you can see how I'm making my runway, and I'm just using a marker that makes tens really easy to see, so that later, when I get all the way up to 200, I can just count it really easily, 10, 20, and then count on. Really important that you mark the tens in a different way, so it's easier for you to count. And you can just do something like this. All you would need is 2 different kinds of objects that you have a lot of in your house, like beans, rice, maybe candy, pennies, nickels. You just want to make sure it's something you have a lot of, and something that where you have more than one. So you can use something different to mark those tens all the way up to 200. All right, so that's your only job for today, is to figure out how to make your runway. If you want to do a test flight with your plane and throw your paper airplane down your runway, you can go ahead and do that. But we're not going to do the measurements until tomorrow. That's all we have for math today. Tuco the Math Cat loves you. Hope you have a good time making your runway and getting ready to do your test flights. And then we'll throw your planes tomorrow, your paper airplanes tomorrow, to see how far you can get it. Remember, your runway has to be 200 units long, and make sure you're differentiating the tens. You can take a picture of your runway and upload it to Class Dojo. That's your exit ticket for today. All right, bye.